Let's go, baby. Hey, guys, this is Weekend Review. I'm with my buddy Christopher Cole. Woo! Let's go, baby.
It's fun to be here.
So,
I'm thrilled to be
hey,
here, friends.
we are about to start off some big fantasy teams. We got a lot to talk about, short time to get there. And then
Yes,
we
sir.
also got some big games coming up, don't we, Chris?
We sure do. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting rest of the season. 8 weeks in with only a few more to go. It's still anybody's conference, anybody's division, anybody's league, except for maybe Jamie Collins. You're probably out of it, friend, but I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Whit could go on a big old losing streak and you could come marching back. That's why we play fantasy football, because any given Sunday, everything can change. Isn't that right, Whit?
We play to win, baby. We play to win.
Well, we've got a couple topics of conversation with that we think would be good. Just as we hit this mid-season review, what do you want to talk about first, Woody?
I don't know, man. I'm down with whatever. I think the big thing that everybody wants to talk about is what we're going to do now with Derrick Henry out.
Derrick Henry that's the big news of the fantasy season. That's why you get Jeremy McNichols. That's why you throw a flyer there and see if Jeremy's going to find himself getting the lion's share of the carries. Here's the other question for you, though. Do you take a flyer on Adrian Peterson?
Ooh, I say no because he's old. Old running backs just don't put up numbers like Derrick Henry. And so it's just not worth it to me. I think there's a lot of other better candidates than him. It could be this random dude who we just said Nichols. He'd come out of nowhere and be better than Peterson, but I don't know. What do you think, Chris?
Well, that begs the question, would you rather have Le'Veon Bell or Adrian Peterson?
But the sad thing is about that, Chris, if you asked me 4 years ago, I'll say Le'Veon Bell, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wonder why the Ravens didn't pick up Peterson earlier this year when half their roster went missing. But hey, the Titans said, let's take a flyer and see if there's any gas fumes that will keep going. I still can't believe that guy's got a career. He's going to be go the way of Frank Gore here pretty soon. He's played for 8 teams. So
dude, it's just time to, I don't know, hang up the cleats and go home.
No, he's a former Heisman runner-up. He played in the greatest college football game, perhaps of all time, the Oklahoma State-Boise game. It's incredible to think that was the last time we saw him in a Sooners uniform, was running 30 yards down the field on the first play from scrimmage in overtime to put Boise State in a position where they had to do yet another trick play to get the touchdown on that fourth down conversion to where they did a running back pass out of the backfield, tight end catches it over the shoulder. And then, of course, the Statue of Liberty play. That's how long Adrian Peterson's been playing football, since Boise State was running the field. And Ian Johnson took the carry from Zabransky and ran the ball in the end zone as opposed to his girlfriend on the sidelines. That's how long Adrian Peterson has been a running back playing at the highest level. And now he's gonna carry the Tennessee Titans to victory. Who has Jeremy McNichols in our league? I think that's me, actually. I can't remember. Is it you?
Let's go, baby. I just picked that dude up.
You picked up McNichols? I didn't even realize that. Yes! Dang, I'm getting all my leagues mixed up. Guys, I'm in 6 leagues this year. 6 leagues. I'm commissioner of 2 of them, including one league that has 16 people in it. So anytime you think our league's tough, Jeremy McNichols has been on somebody's bench since the very beginning of this year, because that's the depth we have in the rosters. I mean, I picked up Carolina's 3rd string running back when McCaffrey went down, hoping he would end up really well, but not so much this year. But anyway, that's what you do with Derrick Henry. Here's another question for you, Weddy.
Yeah.
Unless you have more you wanted to say about Derrick Henry.
No. I think that's it.
So here's an idea I have. A little segment I'd like to call points for, points against.
All right. Sweet.
You ready
Let's
for
do
this
it.
one? So in fantasy football, your record is one thing, but at the end of the day, fantasy football is about a bunch of 1 week matchups that you win over and over again. But, your overall record is just one way of looking at the strength of your roster. I personally think that the best way to look at a team is for your points for and your points against. If your points for are better than your points against, you probably have been a pretty good team in fantasy football this year. So, for example, I'd like to run through the list of this is data that you can find on your local homepage, but I think this might be an avenue that would be a little bit more fun to take a look at. I've got 5 teams that have scored more points for than against, and we have got 5 on the bottom. I'll run through the list. You guys ready for this? Points for. No, Whit's smiling because he knows who's number 1 in points for. It's him. Whit Brizzolera has actually had the most points for and the least amount of points against. Here's a question I have for you to start off the segment, Whit. How did you lose a game? How did you lose? How are you not defeated right now?
I lost 2 games because at that moment my team decided to be poo-poo. Okay, I'm 0-2 against the Long Brothers. 0-2. So you Long Brothers, you got my number this year. You got my number. I'll give you that. But playoff time, I'm coming for you, baby. But all that saying, all that funniness, it's just my team was producing, but the other Long Brothers, they were producing also. And Logan outscored me in last week and, 2 weeks ago. And then Michael Long, it was a defensive battle. Both our teams just really sucked booty, and the ball. I only lost by, I think, less than 10 points in both of those. So it's just a way of fantasy, man.
Well, both those guys are pretty good because both Mikey and Logan are also in the points for category. So makes a lot of sense for that to happen. Here's the other guy, Connor Wilson, Dak. What's his team name again? Dak.
Rises.
Dak to the Future? What?
No, Rises.
What is it?
Rises. RISES.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, Connor, you're pulling out the victory for us there. Those are the points for. Here's the most surprising possible entry in the points for. Are you ready for this, Whit?
Yes.
It's Brady the GOAT, John David Dalby. And here's why it's such an interesting. Yes. Because John David Dalby has 1,161 points for, and he has 1,160 points against, meaning that in a league where literally we only have we don't have fractional points. You don't have 0.2. It's you get 1 point if you have 10 yards rushing. Brady the GOAT has literally 1 more point for than against, and he barely makes the top of the category. Congratulations from perhaps one of the most difficult things to do 8 weeks into the season. John David Dalby, Brady the GOAT.
And he's 5-3. And he's 5-3, man.
And he's 5-3. He should be 4-4. Like literally, that's the most 4-4 statistics I've ever seen in my life. But what do you do? Here's how. Now here's the minus category. This is the unfortunate people on the bottom of the league, the people that have things to do. We've got me on one side. We've got our old roommate J-Dog making things work. We've got Ryan Sage, Paul Sheasley, and Jamie Collins. Now, these teams need a little bit of help. And so, since we've got the league leader with us right now, Whitty, I got a question for you. Just give advice to a couple of these teams. What would you say for teams like me, J-Dog, Ryan Sage, Paul Sheasley, and Jamie Collins?
So I would just start with Chris because he's here. Chris made a trade with me. I had Cordell Patterson, we're on a way in my bench. He's been putting up decent numbers. So we made a trade. I need a receiver. He needed a running back, 1v1 trade. And I feel like that could help his team and build out some strength in his team. So all that saying, you make trades, make things happen. Hit that waiver wire, guys. And then Paul Sheasley.
Oh, Paul
buddy,
Sheasley.
I love you, man. But you got to make your roster. you got one of the best receivers running away in your bench. If you don't want him, send it to me, man. I'll make him happy on my team. Okay, but all that joking aside, just make your roster, man. He has a good roster. Have you seen his roster, Chris?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, he's got it when he puts it.
He has a really good roster. I mean, make your roster, and then J-Dog.
Former
I
roommate.
don't know. Uh, let me look. I mean, he has a good team. He has DK Metcalf, in which he could be good when Russell gets back. So I don't
Yeah.
know. J Dog can make a run.
Okay, so we're just waiting for Russell to get back.
The thing is, your linebackers are questionable. J Dog, get those two backs out of there. They're terrible.
Very important in an individual defensive player league.
Yes, yes, and that's how I'm thinking. I'm in first place. It's because
Okay.
I got 3 tacklers in the top 10. 3 out of my 4 and top 10, and they get 10 tackles a game. That is a game changer. So that's another advice. Hit that defensive wire, man. Pick up people are dropping, and then Ron Sage. It's just your team is. I don't know how to help you, man. You got to fix your tight end. Your tight end has 0 points right now. That's just not very good. And yeah, Nick Bosa defense. Just don't get a defense in, guys. All that say, don't pick up a defense in. You feel like you needed to, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's not going to help your fantasy out. So all that to say is hit that defensive wire and make some trades with people. I'm willing to trade. Chris, everybody's willing to trade. Make some trades, man. That's how you help your team out. Hit that waiver wire, and make things happen. So that's the advice I can give them.
Hey, that's a great advice. Yeah, those don't go chasing those sack numbers. You never know when they're going to be there. My general advice, and I'm not sitting in a position like Whit Brizolera at the top of the league to be able to give you advice, but in my experience with individual defensive leagues, you got to go for those solo tackles. That's the most consistent numbers you can possibly get. So if you're having questions about, man, my defense is crap, and you're starting a cornerback that gets 2 tackles and maybe gets an interception every other week, probably is the reason why you're not doing good on defense. Anyway, well, here's another thing that I thought was interesting. You're talking about Sheasley not bringing the hammer. Here's the most interesting thing about the league. You can tell which managers are most invested in their team by number of roster moves, not just setting your lineup every week, but who is active on that waiver wire. Sheasley, you have made 2 moves the entire year. Now, there are 8 weeks in a season, which 2 divided by 8 is 0.25. So Sheasley has made approximately 0.25 roster moves every week, and that's just not the way to get to the right way. You've lost 3 games in a row, and maybe now's the time to make some roster moves. Now, on the flip side of that, the person who actually leads the league in roster moves is unfortunately Jamie Collins. So Collins needs the most help a little bit, so it's, you don't get too crazy. Don't go cutting people that need to be on your team, but at the same time, it was funny to me that the 2 worst players in the league were on opposite ends of how often how many roster moves they made.
Yeah, that's a crazy statistic, though. That's crazy, man. The person who's actually hitting that wire is not doing well either.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'm proud of you. I mean, sometimes it just feels like you're treading water, and the reality of fantasy football is who knows who's going to play? Who knows when Derrick Henry's going to get hurt? Who knows when, if you like when the Jacksonville Jaguars had Maurice Jones-Drew and not Jonathan Taylor, but Fred Taylor. No, was it Fred Taylor?
Yeah.
When they had those 2 guys, which guy was going to get the carries more? Who knows? It's all about the offensive coordinators. Sometimes his feelings right before the game, whatever coffee he took that morning, he's like, you know what, we'll go with Maurice Jones-Drew. Or Matthew Stafford says, you know what, Cooper Kupp's got a lot of catches. I'm going to try to intentionally throw to Van Jefferson a little bit more. Who possibly knows? It's a crazy, crazy experience. But Collins,
that's why we played the game.
Keep it up, Jamie Collins. I'm proud of you. Keep working.
Yeah, man, keep it up.
So, Win, I got another question for you.
Okay.
Who would you say has been the biggest surprise of the fantasy season for you? Players in our league, or even just players in general? The player that surprised you the most?
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp.
Who knew?
Okay, I'm about to look him up. I think he is putting up 27 points a game. I think he's averaging. Let me double check. I don't want to put false information out there. So you guys like fact check me or something. I don't want that to happen.
It's very important to fact check in today's day and world.
26.6 points on average. And last year, I think he was like putting up 13 or something.
Oh, yeah.
He's like doubling his. I mean, that's to me a surprise. Like, what'd you say, Chris? Would you drafted him in the first round this year? Cooper Kupp.
There's no way I would have done it. I didn't know if he was the number one receiver to pick on the Rams. I thought that maybe Cooks would have been a better pick. Not Cooks, excuse me.
Yeah, it's just Matthew Stafford likes him, so he's throwing it to him. So that's my surprise.
I like
surprise. What about you? What's your
biggest surprise of the year has been Brandon Cooks. Now, here's the reason why. Brandon Cooks has found himself as a wide receiver too on what may have been the absolute worst put together roster in football history, outside of
the Dolphins.
Outside of the Dolphins and whatever the New York Jets put out there this year. You know, Cooks has found him. I mean, who's been his quarterback? David Mills, right? And then Cooks has been pretty much the only offensive player on that entire roster. Sometimes I forget the Houston Texans have a team. They're so bad. But, you know, for him to carve out a little role down there in Houston, I'm proud of him for it. He's a great little receiver. He's found a way to keep up his career after I thought it had been done for years. And so anyway, I'm proud of Brandon Cooks. You know, I was having a conversation with some of my friends the other day here at the University of Virginia, and somebody was like, we were talking about just how bad the Jets are, and they're an awful organization. Washington football team doesn't have a name, and they're running their organization better than the New York Jets. Zach Wilson, absolute bust. They had this rookie come in, he threw for 400 yards last week, and Zach Wilson can't do it with all that star pedigree he has. The Jets organization is not doing him any favors, but we were talking about just how bad the Jets are. And check this out. The Jets are so bad that I think what would happen is if we brought back the XFL and we had the champion of the XFL play the worst team in football for a chance to join the NFL the next year.
Now, the question is, Chris, was that team that joined get the number one overall pick?
Yeah, they get the number one overall pick, and they get to play in the NFL at whatever division the loser of that game got in. I'm pretty sure not only would the Jets lose, but they would find themselves at the bottom of the XFL the very next year, where they'd have to play the University of Alabama for a chance to be in the XFL. Be the fastest way to get the Jets back to positions where they belong. Oh, it's just an awful organization. The Jets are not. That has been the most. Zach Wilson's downfall has been the expectation of the fantasy season that I knew was going to happen.
And then the quarterback last week went off for the Jets.
Oh yeah, he threw for like 400 yards, the biggest. And it's like, okay, well, why isn't Zach Wilson doing that every week?
Yeah, exactly. You spend a number 2 overall pick on him, so terrible. All right, man, that's awesome. Hey, something, it's not our next segment, but something I was just thinking about. The funniest thing, the top 5 draft picks in this year's draft that we did fantasy-wise.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry's out. Christian McCaffrey's out. Saquon Barkley's out.
Gone.
Like,
I'm happy that I picked Cook at 6.
I'm glad I picked up Kamara at 3.
I know.
I mean, that's just awful. And then there's something else. Like, it's just, and these top receivers are just not doing what they're supposed to do. Like, Cooper Kupp came out of nowhere and is just dominating. So it's just funny to me. Segment, don't draft him next year. Christian McCaffrey, okay? Don't draft him, or Saquon Barkley. They're always hurt. Don't draft them.
Yeah.
Until later.
Then you've got big questions. I was waiting for Henry to go down with an injury like this. They'd been working him like it was nobody's business. And although he's a freak of an athlete, there's not another football player like him. At some point, something's got to give going up against the top level athletes in football. And so now I remember when people were drafting Dalvin Cook because of his injury question marks, and he put a lot of those to bed last year, but he still had a season-ending injury the last two of the last 4 years. So it makes you ask the question, which running back do you feel confident picking in the first round next year because of their complicated injury history, right? I mean, Kamara is the only running back that has not been injured at this point. Barkley was number 1 overall 2 years ago. Can't pick him anymore. McCaffrey's been injured a lot. I'm not confident he's going to come back this week. They're still like toying with if they're going to bring him off IR or not. And you're like, holy cow, your organization's awful. Get your best player on the field as quickly as possible. And then Henry's got his foot fracture, and who knows if he's going to bounce back from that. I mean, it's just
no, he's out for the season.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I said bounce back next year.
Okay. Yeah.
He probably will do okay, but a running back getting a foot injury is scary. So who do you pick? Who doesn't have an injury question?
Najee Harris. Let's go, baby. I told y'all to go pick that dude up, and y'all didn't want that.
One Alabama running back for another, right? We thought Edwards-Helaire would be the guy that filled in the gap too, and he's not that guy either, unfortunately.
No, because the Chiefs don't run the freaking football, which is they want to throw the deep ball and not run the freaking football or pass to Kelsey. So, okay, segment. I know you didn't write this down. Which rookie surprised you this year?
Which rookie surprised me? Okay, so here's the answer for you, and it's probably the most obvious one, so I'm embarrassed about it. Ja'Marr Chase, I did not think was going to have the season that he had. Here's the reason why. I knew he was a fantastic wide receiver prospect, but the Bengals offensive line was so bad last year. I was like, when they picked him, I'm like, there's no way he's going to be able to get the ball to him. The organization doesn't have a great offensive line. And then they've been able to hold up long enough for him to get the ball to Chase, to let Chase do what he did. So he's the odds on to win rookie of the year. He's had the best receiving year since rookie year since Moss. So it's pretty easy to pick Chase for me there. I mean, it's basic, but it's the take I've got,
I will go the same way because I knew Kyle Pitts would do pretty good to pick. That's why I drafted him. I knew Najee Harris would do good. That's why I drafted him as high as I did. So I knew those two guys would do well. And Ja'Marr Chase just came out of nowhere. I knew he was talented, but he's just putting up numbers. And Logan Long, that's how you beat me.
Yeah.
Ja'Marr Chase. 2 long 90-yard touchdowns.
Dethroning the champ.
But so okay. What's the next one you thinking about, Chris?
Well, here's an idea I had for games of the year so far. I have it down listed to 3 of them. I thought they'd be interesting. You ready for me to run these by you?
Yeah.
Here's the 3rd most interesting game of the year. It was actually last week, and it's Team Long versus Jamie Collins. Now, the unfortunate thing about this week is that this is the week that Team Long, who's been riding the Derrick Henry train for the longest time, Derrick Henry goes down. Jamie Collins comes into that game with 4 straight losses. 4. Count them. And this is his one chance to get it when Derrick Henry goes down. Poor guy craps the bed because he starts Calvin Ridley, and the week that Calvin Ridley decided to go the way of Simone Biles and scores a big fat goose egg to lose that game by 6 points. Jamie, just keep fighting. Probably going to cut Calvin Ridley here pretty soon. Who knows what that guy's going. He's got personal issues that the Falcons won't even tell us about. So, oh my goodness.
Hey,
Here's
Jamie.
What's up?
Jamie, you could beat me this week. You could knock me out. Okay? I don't know. Anything can happen.
Any given Sunday. Here's number 2.
Knock me out. Yeah.
Number 2 is Dak, is Mikey versus Dak, or in other words, Connor Wilson. This game went to in week 7, 162 to 160, a 2-point difference. Here's what made the biggest change. Dak started Dearness Johnson for his one great start in the NFL and got all those yards from that Thursday night game for 25 points, which was a game changer. But here's the other thing. It was Heineke was his starting quarterback that week. Heineke led him to a 162 to 160 victory over Mikey. He picks up another guy off waivers, doesn't matter. Heineke is leading his team to victory. Congratulations for that. Here's the last one. You ready? This is actually, kind of a sad one. This is the number one game, I think, so far this year. And it's week 3. And I played in it, of course. But, it was against a team long, and one of the most strange circumstances in fantasy football ever. And it's something that probably only could happen in our league because we don't do fractional points here. It's the week 3 tie between me and Mikey Long. How do we tie? It's 146 points. The odds are astronomically strange for us to put together a lineup that tied. I've never seen a tie in fantasy football. Never. I've played fantasy football for 13 years, going back to the days when Lodanius Tomlinson and Dante Culpepper and Randy Moss were on my fantasy team. It's been that long since that's the case. But unfortunately, found myself in a tie. And instead of having, and you know what's silly about it? Right now, I'm out of the playoffs by one goddamn freaking game. It's not even one game, it's a half of a game right now. If I win that, if I score 1 point, if my running back gets 10 more yards and I get 146 points, I'm back in that championship. But those are my segments, games of the year opportunities.
Okay. I love it, man. Tie. I saw that. And Mikey Long, that's the difference between me and you right now in first and second place.
It's the tie.
You beat me. You have the tiebreaker, but
I mean, a tie's not a loss, but it's not a win. You know what I'm saying?
It's not a win. I'll knock you out because I'm a half a game ahead of you. So yeah, and guess what, Chris? I think that's gonna go down to people making the playoffs or not.
Oh, I'm sure.
Half a game because this is a close league. We got a lot of people battling for that 4th spot, 3 and 4 and stuff. It's crazy. Okay. Anything else you want to talk about?
Last thing I want to ask the league champion so far. Which team are you most scared of coming for your throne?
3 people. 3 people that I'm legit scared of. Connor.
Mm-hmm.
I was scared to play you last week, man, but your team didn't produce and mine did. That was the difference. Then the Long brothers. They both have beaten me this year, and they both have legit good teams. One has Cooper Kupp, who it's just going lights out, and it's just all 3 of them have really good rosters that they can compete with me. Okay, it's just the name of the game. That's who I'm scared of. Okay?
You're not afraid of Brady the GOAT?
I never played him, so I don't know. I mean, the thing is, Chris, I'm scared of everybody every week. That's why I'm Nick Saban in Alabama. Just guess what? I don't listen to the rat poison, and my team doesn't either. So
Saban is so happy.
I'm scared of everybody every week, and my team comes to play every week and ready to go beat whoever it is, even if it's J-Dog, Paul Sheasley, who doesn't make his roster. I'm scared every week to play somebody. All right. So
good deal, man.
All right, man. Anything else before we knock this out? Close it out.
Oh, I think we'll be good for today. We'll try to do something in the weeks in the future to give you guys a good look at what it means to be a fantasy team. But anyway, good luck to y'all. Boom, baby.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to do this every Wednesday or every Thursday, Wednesday, whatever, every week. And we're going to tell y'all what our opinions are. And we might have guest stars show up. Who knows, man? So just stay tuned, all right?
There ain't no reason that these guys can't jump on either. We'd love to have anybody that wants to jump on this very special recorded Zoom call join us if you want. So boom, baby, make it happen.
Boom, baby. All right, see y'all.
Bye, guys.